Everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so I'm gonna do kind of a video here. I want to talk about a couple of comic books I've been reading over the last maybe week or two, and then if this works right, I'll be able to show you some of the comic books that I bought today, which I haven't bought yet. I have to run some errands first. But let's see here. Let's do it this way. Well, this here. I've read issue number one and number two of Prodigy. Um, I thought it was okay. It's basically about this main character here. Whoops, not here, not her, him. He's kind of this sort of cocky, swaggering, genius level guy who goes around making money, solving problems. He knows everybody and everything, and he has all these ties to captains of industries, heads of states, and things like that. And this lady here gets him involved in some story that seems to be some sort of interdimensional conspiracy. We're in the early part of the story so far. First issue I thought was kind of whatever. I guess it was just basically the setup of establishing who he is. Second issue, the plot picks up. Basically, they're going around trying to pick up clues from various sources. He's in Russia. He's raiding their vaults and their libraries to gain information. And we also get introduced to these bad guys that are like really, really evil. It's borderline it's borderline tasteless. Where you see what some of the bad guys do for sport. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but it's the sort of thing it's hard for me to see someone including in say like a mainstream movie unless it was like a horror movie or something like that. It's not explicit. It's not explicit or anything like that. It's not particularly gory, but just like I said, the acts of cruelty that the bad guys do is like that's another thing about this. I mean, a lot of people kind of rag on Mark Millar, and I have myself about how some of his comics really seem to be like pitches for movies and TV shows. This kind of does feel like it could be uh, like a summer movie or whatever. But so far, it's good. It's not it's good or it's good enough at this point. I should say. So okay. Criminal. Really happy this comic book is back. This is the revamp or the relaunch, I should say. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Basically, we're reintroduced uh, to the Lawless character. His son has done. Oh, I probably shouldn't be showing all this. Well, I'll show you some of the art without giving away the plot. He's done something really horrible, and he's made the wrong people mad. So Lawless has to figure out how to like repay them, and through trying to figure out what to do, he finds out an old friend of his who he's going to ask to, maybe they could do a job or whatever. He finds out that guy has died. And there's some interesting character bits here, but it all leads up to a possible uh, well, maybe it leads to another possible gig. And it looks like I said, this is the setup to a larger story. It works as its own thing here, but like I said, it's going to lead into something big. It seems like uh, really well written, really tight, both in the art and the scripting. I'm not going to make a big funny, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to make a big deal out of this, but it's funny to me when I watch certain people's YouTube channels and they're always talking about how, oh, they can't find badass comic books anymore. Oh, I can't find stories where this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, dude, it's because your whole channel is you complaining about hipster Batgirl or something. phone went off. I mean, it's like, just go out there and look. There are stories about straight white guys running around kicking the shit out of people if you go look for them. So, all right. Um, Young Justice number 1. I kind of went in it kind of enthusiastically, and the comic's not terrible, but I think it's got some serious flaws. The story is by Brian Michael Bendis, and the art is by Patrick Gleason. And basically, it's the standard sort of superhero getting the band together. Basically, the heroes from Anistus, or however you say it, the gym world, are attacking Metropolis because I don't know, they're mad at Earth because the DC universe keeps having all these crises that keep rebooting continuity, and they're mad about it or something. I don't know. Um, and I get what Brian Michael Bendis was going for here. Just the big superheroes and supervillains, and big action and craziness. But my problem is, it's too frantic. There's too it's too frantic. There's too much going on, and it doesn't seem to flow naturally. If that makes any sense, the pacing is completely off. It's just a lot of wisecracks and a lot of fighting and a lot of things happening, and you're not 100% certain what's going on. And part of that, I'm sure it's Bendis' script. Part of it's also the way Gleason's done some of these layouts. I'm sure he's doing it to kind of, just to kind of make things interesting. But you're not always certain what's going on here. For example, like here, here's a page, right? Uh, Gym World people are attacking. There's Jenny Hex or Joni Hex, whatever her name is. Okay, she's shooting from a car or something. Now here's some faces somewhere. You don't know where they are relative to her. Here's her face. Then down here, there's a kick and a smack and a whatever. And we flip the page, and of course it's Tim Drake. But the point is, what the fuck is going on down here? You know what I mean? And the comic is full of stuff like that where you're not sure who's doing what at whatever time. Um, Here's another good example. Tim Drake and the people are facing off, and uh, okay, there's the cops. Then there's some blurry lines here, but again, what the fuck is that? I know it is because I've read the comic, but you don't know if somebody's zapping some energy rays, if or what, or if that's just supposed to be a fancy special effect, if that's just a coloring thing. Now we find out it's Impulse is back, but what exactly was supposed to be going on down here? It's just some blurry lines. And here, what's going on? Is he at the playground? I thought we were like downtown. So that's my problem. You know what this basically is? This is, if you watch action movies, it's a poorly edited action movie where you've got all the shaky cam going on, and there's all this jump cutting going on, and you can't quite make out the scene. That's what the problem is with this comic. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff happening, but you don't quite know what's happening. I mean, you know what's happening after reading the story, that there's a fight going on, but you can't actually see what's happening with the fight, and that kind of bothers me. Um, in this, oh, here, Teen Lantern shows up, and it's just, again, it's something where something happens, Supergirl gets knocked out of the sky, and what? And I guess that's a catcher's mitt, and she's kind of looking, what? But again, it's not 100% clear from from the visuals. So that just sort of bothers me. And here's more of that going on. You're not sure who's doing what in relationship to whom, and it's kind of off-putting. Here's a cool spread. It's like but again, here's another thing. I'm pretty much giving away a lot of the comic. Well, not that much happens. Like I said, it's basically aliens attack and superheroes just randomly happen to be there and they fight back against the aliens. So, but here, what is this? Some sound effects. Okay, so that's what bothered me about it. I'm gonna keep up with it because it is fun. It is a lighthearted. I want to give it a chance, so I'll probably buy the next couple of issues. But and I think they need to tighten up the visual storytelling here. Um, Justice League 14 and 15. I kind of like it. I keep having this problem with Justice League where I kind of want to like the comic, but I jump on, then I jump off. I keep getting bored with it really quickly. But I kind of like this new story arc they're doing. I'm really intrigued with it. Basically, Hawk Girl has to go back to Hawk World to kind of find out what's going on with her. She's got these new wings, and she's not sure what's what. So she and John Stewart and John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, uh, go back there, and then they find out there's some shenanigans going on with the current queen of Hawk World. Uh, they've got like some Martians in the basement tied up, and there's some sort of deal that's been struck with the Guardians of Oa, and this somehow ties into the totality and the multiverse and all that sort of thing. But it's working for me. It's working for me. I like the art. The art in the Hawk World sections is done by Steven Segovia, and the art in the other part. Now there's this other part going on with Starman, one of the Starman, not the James Robinson Starman, not the Jack Knight Starman. This is another Starman. And he's got a star on his head, and there's Batman trying to figure out what's going on with him, and Superman rushes in and says no, and I'm not too sure what's happening. I don't think the other characters know what's happening yet either. He's like building energy and stuff, and he's gonna explode or whatever. But again, it's intriguing. It's fun. It kind of reminds me of stories we used to get in the Avengers or the Justice League, where it's like, okay, half the team is over here, dealing with one problem, and the other half of the team is over here dealing with a completely different problem. And sometimes the stories come together, and sometimes they don't. Um, but yeah, I'm having fun with it. I like the action. It's mostly quick paced. Uh, the layouts here are very clear, very simple, very easy to follow, as opposed to, like I said, the Young Justice comic. The only problem I have with it is the story is written by Scott Schneider, and the guy's name is James. I don't know how to say it. Uh, Tanian, possibly. And James did the finished script, and it's just too wordy. I think it's overwritten. There's a lot of places, or I should say, just throughout, where he's using a paragraph where just a sentence or two would do. It's the sort of thing you have where some comic book writers, where they want to show people that they're serious writers, they just overdo it a little bit. I think if if the script was streamlined, that would make the comic that much better. And I think the other thing, oh no, I got two other things I want to talk about. I'm interested in this comic, Livewire. This is from Valiant. I'm not too familiar with the character. I guess she controls electronics or has electrical powers or something like that. What we're picking up here is she's kind of on the run. For some reason, people think she's a superhero, but people think she's a terrorist or something. And it seems like it's the holdover from something that must have happened in some other series. So, so I don't know. So I don't know. It's decently written. Like I said, I'm kind of intrigued, so I'm gonna give this comic book a chance. And okay, and here's another another Bendis comic cover. Basically, the premise of this comic is that a CIA agent has recruited this comic book artist to be to be an agent for them. It's pretty silly. Um, it's silly. It's silly, and unfortunately, we're at issue 4, and almost nothing has happened. I mean, they go abroad to get the goods on some statesman who's going to go to a comic book convention, and the guy gets captured, and it turns out there's another comic book artist who's been recruited by enemy agents or whatever, and the guy's got him, and he's trying to beat him up for information, but somehow he gets out of it, and I, I, I don't know, whatever. You know what it is? This comic book should have been like a farce. It should have been like over the top comedy. It should have been like, just zany madcap adventure or whatever. And we're just giving you this kind. And there's some funny stuff in here. There's funny dialogue between the main character and his CIA handler. And there's funny stuff where the other comic book artist is like beating him up and stuff. So I mean, that stuff's okay, but as far as an actual story, it's kind of nothing, man. Like nothing really is going on, and the character bits don't make up for that. Having said that, I really enjoy this art. I just like looking at this pen and artwork, this pen and ink work, the different styles that David Mack is using here. I like his watercolor stuff. Um, I'm showing it all to you. I like these layouts. I just think it's really, really nice looking. I've been buying it mostly for the art. The story is like not good or whatever, but the art I think is just great. You know. I also read Scarlet, but I'm going to save Scarlet for another video that I have an idea for. That won't be a time sensitive video. So that's pretty much it. Oh, I also read Captain Marvel #1. I don't have anything super interesting to say about it. I thought it was pretty good. Kelly Townsend, I think, is a good writer. Um, this issue basically kind of reestablishes uh, Captain Marvel and who she is and how she functions in the world. Her relationship with Spider Woman, who's more or less her best friend. She's also good friends with Tony Stark. It reestablishes her relationship with James Rhodes. James Rhodes is Tony Stark's best friend, and he's also been War Machine. And Carol and Rhodey were dating briefly at one point. And then, well, I don't want to give away what happens, but there's a big attack or whatever. And by the end of the last page, it looks like we're going to be shot into a completely different type of adventure than what we might have initially thought at first. So okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. Oh, no, wait. I I've got to pause the video because later I'll be back to show you some new vids or some new comics. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, part two of the video. Okay, so here are the comic books I got today. Shadow Man number 11. I'm probably going to drop this after issue 12. It's not a bad comic book, but it's not a um, it doesn't grip me as much as I want it to. I kind of want to like the comic more than I like it. Like I said, it's not bad any way. It's just that I think the problem for me is the main character. He's just not as involving and like I said, gripping, and he doesn't capture my imagination as well as I had hoped. It says something that I guess maybe about me, that I thought it was the last arc where the character was reliving the lives of the previous Shadow Men, caveman Shadow Man, Western Shadow Man, Prohibition Shadow Man. I found those stories more interesting um, than now that we're back in the present. So I'm gonna give this one more issue, but I'm probably gonna drop it. Um, Gideon Falls number 10. Still one of the best comic books out there. Um, well, no, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Gideon Falls number 10. Days of Hate number 12. I think this is the last issue. Lodger number 3. I still haven't read number 2. So I need to catch up, but here's Lodger number 3. Black Widow number 1. I was flipping through it, or actually I saw the previews first, and flipping through it now. I don't know how I feel about this art. It's not bad art, but after going through that run with Chris Samey, and then even the previous thing before where you had Phil Noto, I'm just used to just that, higher quality, that higher tier art. Like I said, this isn't bad, but those guys were. I'm kind of expecting a little bit better out of my Black Widow comics than just not bad. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this. Oh, the other thing is this is being written by, let's see here, Jin and Sylvia Soska. And these these women, they're like filmmakers. They do these kind of low budget indie films, kind of gritty stuff. I saw one of their movies, it is like a ways back, called American Mary, that was all about kind of a suspense movie, horror movie, about body modification and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see their take on the Black Widow. I'm glad this story has something to do with Natasha going overseas or going to wherever, and there might be some sort of what did it say? I'm trying to remember what it said in the previews. There might have been some sort of child trafficking or something like that, and something like that. Anyway, the point is, I'm glad it's not yet another story that's about the Red Room or the Black Widow's haunted by her past, or I've got blood on my ledger and all that type of stuff. I'm glad they're going forward at least. So, all right, okay. Conan number 2. I liked it number 1, so okay. So I'm on board for a little while. All right, and then Ironheart number 2. And yeah, again, I liked number 1. I thought it was a nice setup, nice build up. I think even storytelling wise, It had a different feel than a lot of modern comics. It actually read like an older comic from like the 80s or so, as far as the way the action was balanced with the character bits. So it just seemed to have that older comic book storytelling approach to it. So all right, that's it. Um, let's see here. I've got two videos in the can, so I'll probably upload one either tomorrow or the day after, and then we'll see about the second one. Okay, so that's it. I got to thank you very much for watching. You guys have a good day.